I see Karen Epps, I see Vlad. This week we're playing bingo for sermon. So we're playing transformation bingo. I was told the last time I had a bingo card for the sermon it was too easy. Rick, are you here? There you are. Yeah, Rick thought it was too easy. So we're going to add some difficulty for those of you who need competitiveness. The reason I do this is that some of us appreciate something to follow along with. And listen for words, because that helps all the different ways that brains work. And some people just like to play, and some people just want a piece of paper to write on. And some people, you can ignore it. This is totally optional, and look out the window.
Don't forget the choir.
What?
Oh, we want to play.
Oh yeah, the choir wants to play. We'll make sure you get some. Don't worry. First of all, I did this at another congregation, and we decided that if you win, now you're not going to say bingo in the middle of the service because it's still a service and this is a sacred time. But you can do a little dance, and if you want on the diagonal, you could like do this if you got it, or this kind of thing. Now, if you do your little dance, and it can be a stand-up, it can be a full move boogie, it can be from your chair. Vlad's going to kind of note for me how many winners there are. He'll be sitting there watching everything. Now, if you get what I'm going to now term, this is going to go popular in all the bingo halls now, full chalice, which will be all of the outside ring, all right? So all the squares on the outside edge. We're going to call that the full chalice. You can write your name on the sheet if you need this to be competitive and hand it in to me in the receiving line, because Debbie Lee made her friendship bread, and I'll put it in a drawing and you could win that, all right? So that'll be for that. On the opposite side, there's what's called a Zentangle, and Reverend Cynthia Landrum made it. So maybe you're just someone who likes to doodle, or you want to color. And if you don't want to do any of that, take it home and put it on your fridge and think of us. Or we can recycle it, whatever you want. So this is just for fun. It's just to enjoy yourself. If you don't like it, don't use it. So take care of your needs for your spirit as you see fit. Raise your hand if you need something from one of them or something to write with or anything like that, and they will take care of you. And I'm going to start preaching. So for all of you here in our congregation, there is power in being and belonging to a faith community. It's a way to go through a metamorphosis of yourself in our faith, where we offer you many ideas and ways to grow and change. Not just yourself for the better, but that of our entire interconnected web of life. So if love does not make the world go round, then friendship surely does. Friendships can be so rich. They can be like that of dragonflies that go their whole lives in the larva-like glue under the water. And once they transform and are birthed into magical flying machines, they learn about that good relationship of the sacred and the miracle of flight. Imagine how excited they must feel to have a whole new life because they changed. In the realm of the purely personal, after food, water, shelter, the quality of relationships, the quality most often determines the quality of life. And we could probably agree that relationships, when going well, are the best, and when not going well, are the worst. And yet most of us are not taught many tools to improve or transform relationships. Friendships can be some of the greatest blessings. And if you had one that required no work and never had a bumper difficulty, I would probably wonder about the emotional functioning of that friendship. I might wonder too if you and the other person had, by luck, both learned about your inner space, yourself, and perhaps wonder if you were raised in very similar family systems. More often than not, friendships and relationships are delicate and fragile, and something to be worked at and grown. Much of what I share with you today is based on Bowen Family Systems Theory. Have any of you heard of that? I see the therapists. Yes, a couple of you nodding your heads, yes. So I find Bowen theory so fascinating and so helpful to ministry that I have a Bowen coach. It is one of my ministerial superpowers I draw on when things are really challenging. I book more sessions with my Bowen coach. Oh my God, please, when do you have an opening? I am reminded over and over again the tools and techniques to help me and my congregations, and I do try them out on you all the time, are all about what I do different. It's not about what I can get you to do different. So don't think for a minute that I am not needing every single one of the tools that I learn in my own life. These lessons are challenging. They are really, really hard. I learn them over and over and over again. And yet, the rewards are a gift. So if you're interested in this topic, a book I have found helpful, not perfect, but helpful, kind of out of date, but I'll quote from a lot today, is from Extraordinary Relationships by Roberta Gilbert. Gilbert explains, the first and most important concept in understanding and changing relationships is differentiation of self, which will be described after individuality and togetherness forces. Understanding these basic forces is understanding the differentiation of self. So know thyself, not the idealized you, not the hidden parts, not the parts you are willing to put on social media. No, know the really true parts of you. And this is why the help of coaches and spiritual directors and therapists and 12-step programs and counselors and going to retreats and so many more things like that are deeply important to one's personal growth. It's why I have lists of therapists outside my office that people can just take in case you're thinking about it. It's why I give referrals to all kinds of things like that. It's why we offer so many classes in our church. So here's the rub. Individuality and togetherness are these big, deep forces in the universe. Neither is better than the other. It is never enough to work on only one. And I really see this playing out in our faith in how the new Article 2 bylaws are being written. So for those of you who are guests, we have these 7 principles, and people who love them hard. And some people don't feel included by them because they're quite individualistic, or maybe they favor one kind of person more than another. And so some people have said those need to be drawn wider to include more people. And so they've been working on them because our bylaws determine that every 15 years we have to rework them or look at them and see if they're up to date. And we've been doing this for hundreds of years, so this isn't like, last year's idea. And the current round, we've gotten over 15,000 people to give feedback on it. It's the most feedback we've ever had. It's the most democratic way we've ever done it, which is one of our values as well. So we're constantly transforming in our faith, and we as people are challenged to constantly transform, to draw our circle wider for that value of togetherness, that human nature. This is an anthropological need that we have. You can't fight it. You can say that you don't want people, but that is probably a statement rooted in hurt and not truth. So as we move into this, looking at individual searches for truth and meaning, but also looking at the collective and what is good for the collective whole of our communities, and making decisions for our communities and our churches and our world that truly are about the interconnected web and show deep care for the collective good and moving together in love and justice. I come back to Murray Bowen's theory. He was working at it in the 60s, and in 1973, he postulated that two opposing basic life forces are at work. One is a built-in life growth force toward individuality and differentiation of a separate self. And the other is an equally intense need for emotional closeness. And this work of building self with its beliefs and goals and boundaries are distinct from those other people begins in early life. And ideally, it continues throughout. The individuality is ever present in human beings, and it reminds one constantly of boundaries that are non-negotiable in our personal relationships. And the togetherness urges us toward others for attachment and affiliation and approval. It is an emotional process among individuals in which both anxiety and self are transferred. And this moment of emotion and self among individuals is basic. It is core to who we are. To seeing the group as an emotional unit and looking at nature helps clarify this idea. So our human condition is constantly looking to balance these two forces of individuality and togetherness. Now, one can imagine that if you understand who you are and you get every vulnerability that you have and you expose it and you're willing to talk about it. Yes, I'm working on this, I know. Yes, I know, I have to work on that. Here's all my other issues I'm working on. This is my stuff, right? You hear Brene Brown often talking about, what's your stuff? What's in your suitcase, right? So if you do that and you bring a great deal of humility about who you are and where you came from, and then strike that perfect balance with the human need to connect and fuse while maintaining your boundaries, and sharing generously of yourself, you will master the keys to amazing friendships, and all the relationships around you will improve. End of sermon, right? If only it were that easy. But that really is it. So second, did you hear me say anything about great relationships being dependent on getting everyone to think like you, agree with you, or do what you say? I know, I'm really sorry. Have you ever found yourself saying, why didn't they listen to me? Can't they see I'm right? Why can't she stop being? Why is he always nagging me if he would only be nice for one night? Why is she so afraid of telling the truth? Why can't she just tell the truth? Why won't they just get their stuff together? It's quite a quandary, isn't it? I bet you all have quite a few more you could add. We could make lists all day, right? When you find yourself saying or thinking one of these things, it's a good warning that you are not being very differentiated. I could imagine a little sign going by going, warning, warning, no differentiation here. I bet you aren't feeling much peace in those moments either. Gilbert reminds us highly differentiated people have a superior ability to calm their emotional states, while less differentiated people can be immobilized by emotion. I want to pause and say, that's also subjective to what's going on. If someone is attacked, if someone is hurt, they might need help coming back to their thinking brain. The highly differentiated person is able to choose emotional states and can thoroughly enjoy them. And at the lower end of the scale, feelings and the thinking system are intimately connected, and there's more anxiety to deal with. Less differentiated families, and churches behave a whole lot like families, generate more anxiety, both chronic, coming down through generations, and acute, short-term. Workplaces can do this too, so don't think you're getting out of it. At higher levels of differentiation of self, there's progressively less anxiety, and any change in the level of differentiation makes for a radical difference in functioning in all areas of life, particularly relationships. Rev D, what's the bottom line? Relationships can only be changed if you change yourself. You are the only person you can control or influence in any relationship. I like the allure of getting everyone else to change. I'm right there with you. You might imagine, as your minister, I could make quite a dream list of things I would like to change in people around me too. And if I did, I would have to ask myself, how's that working for you? How successful are you being at that? Because there's just about nothing you can do to change people who are not on a path to change themselves. The way to change relationships around you is not to project your wishes for changing them onto them. Instead, it's to ask yourself, what can I do right now to change this relationship by my own actions? When you change you, you change the web. If you desire someone who is feeling anxious to be more calm, ask yourself, how could I be calming in this situation? Have you ever noticed someone telling someone else to calm down? How effective is that? Calm down! No! Stop telling me that. It's a real good way to make them feel unseen, unheard, and more upset. Whereas saying, wow, you seem really afraid, or anxious or nervous. Can I help in any way? Could I bring you a glass of water? Could we just breathe together? Would that help? You might feel like you've changed them because you are honoring what's happening. But really, you didn't change them, you changed you. And you changing you and your offer to help in a calm and thoughtful way changes the web. So if you want to draw the circle wider, change you. If you approach with anger, you will add fear. Now, to do this, you have to be differentiated enough to know and understand that to get what you want in the relationship, you can only do that by making a resolution to work on you. Become the butterfly. I want you to know I find this entire concept incredibly frustrating and deeply beautiful. If I want change in relationships, I have to change myself, my reactions, my approach, and my ability to react differently. And this is real hard if I'm being attacked, or if I'm being triggered, or anything like that, right? So if someone wanted to help me, right, they would say, how can I bring calm to this, right? And vice versa. So that's the same reason why us UUs update our covenants. We want to get something different out of our relationships with one another. We want to create change so we change ourselves. So you hear me talking all the time about bringing curiosity to the table. In a challenging relationship, it is such a good tool to simply state what you observe and ask if the person observes it too. You can't do it with judgment. You got to be calm. I notice I keep sharing Willow's pronouns with you, and each time you hear me, you use a different set of pronouns in the very next thing you say. Are you noticing that too? This gives the person a chance to explain to me why they keep using the wrong pronouns. Maybe they don't hear me. Maybe they didn't understand. Maybe their hearing aid needs new batteries. Whatever the reason, I'm not responding with anger or hurt or a lecture saying, you need to do this, right? What do I know? I don't. Instead, I'm just bringing curiosity and I'm being calm and differentiated. Where the Freudian theory concerned itself with delineation of ever more refined detail in the life of an individual, Bowen theory pursues an ever-broadening scope that incorporates the entire relationship system. And when I train leaders, I'm often telling them, try to think of the balcony. What do we do when we go up and we look at the balcony of a situation? So if you're having trouble in a relationship, try to imagine yourself watching it as a scene. What's going on there? Why are they doing that? What's going to happen next? Understanding the system and working for personal change within it produces powerful effects, not only on the individual, but on the entire system, Gilbert explains. This is a chance, if you don't feel powerful, if you think you're just one person, to affect the system. So if you want to change a relationship, you have to change yourself. Your understanding of yourself and how you will respond in the relationship. There is no more powerful tool. It's hard. So if you want to say, how can I have better friendships or better family relations? You ask. I'm going to ask you back. How can you respond differently than how you have been? How can you engage in a way that's going to change the entire energy of that situation because you didn't avoid a hard conversation or you didn't accuse, but instead responded with love or curiosity? So finally, the rational, logical part of the brain does not operate reliably in the presence of strong emotion. You think it's so smart. It's not. If there is too much anxiety and chaos going on, you can't access that frontal cortex. So the more you work on this is why we have spiritual practices, why we do meditation, why we exercise, why we do art. Then you can better access those if you can calm your emotions and think through difficult situations. Go up to the balcony in your thinking. And at the same turn, if you can be calm when someone is feeling attacked or traumatized, then you can help them access that too. This higher level of differentiation means you'll be far less concerned about being liked or loved. This is really hard, folks. Your value is not found in them. You will know your own value and your own worth. This is an invitation to shift your focus from how you are impacted instead to how you can change your reaction and your behavior and impact the situation. It's not easy, friends. But I promise you, relationship transformation, it's worth it.